look at that
ghost?
ghost? Alex, before we went live, apparently I thought it
Adam,
was
sing
something
it.
like, don't let me
So,
look at that ghost, and Alex laughed, and I'm assuming that must be the incorrect.
Ghostbusters.
What's the line then, smart arse?
I don't want to tell you. I like that. That's your thought. That's how you
That's
think the
both.
song goes.
It's just like that. What's that one song like?
Don't let me look at that ghost.
Milkshake, baby milkshake. That's
That's
wrong.
love. That's Love Shack.
Yes, Love Shack. I
and
always thought it said milkshake.
and it's not. Don't let me look at that ghost. It's I ain't
You
afraid
don't
of no
even know
ghosts.
it.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Don't let me look at that ghost. It sounds just exactly the same.
But the meaning is so different.
Gaming is in session. Hear ye, hear ye. That's right. We are live. I don't even know what episode this is. We are on the Sea of Stars episode. Alex, I'm going to go back in time and try this again because you failed so miserably. What is your favorite size of cup?
I listened back at this episode. I think the answer you're looking for is 12 ounces. I'm going to say 64 ounce.
You know, I'm looking for the C cup. C cup, see the joke, Sea of Stars. That's the joke. That's the intro. Second week in a row. Second episode, you ruined the joke. Horrible. Horrible. You should be ashamed. Okay, how about this one for size? You were out, Alex, and I had to do things this weekend by myself, right? So I was out enjoying life. I got assaulted this weekend with butter, with milk. What do you got to say about that?
You got assaulted with butter, milk,
Eggs?
It sounds like a cookie thing.
No? It just,
No?
I got assaulted. How dare he, assault me. Horrible. Garbage. That's it. That's the joke. Then silence. I don't even want your soundboard. What a start to this episode. We're gonna hop into it, folks, because Sea of Stars the game neither of us had any idea about. But before we get started, you know how we do it. Found this for 75 cents. It's Prime. It's on sale at Walmart. Now this isn't the energy drink Prime. It's the
Yeah, who's the dude and who's the dude's silhouette there?
I Show Speed. I didn't even know that was a silhouette. Good eyes, Alex.
He's like a YouTuber or something that I think fought Manny Pacquiao or something like that. That's why I know the name. But
oh, I don't know. Pretty soon we're going to be on here because we now just hit 500 subs. We are now monetized. We made it big time. That is right. We're going to be on the next bottle. This is Dragon Fruit Acai. And I'm not gonna lie, as we were chatting, I've already had some. It's good. It's almost a little weird. Like water, coconut water, citric acid. There's only 2 grams of sugar. Like something's up with this. It tastes too good to be like not bad for you. But either way,
is it not? Like how much sugar is in it? You said
2 grams.
Huh.
30 milligrams of sodium, 5 carbs, 20 calories. Like,
it's probably got something in there making you love it. Like it's got like nicotine or something like that.
it just, yeah.
Methamphetamine inside the Prime Energy drink.
Yes, I love it. Anyhow, that's my gamer juice. Alex, what do you got?
I went on vacation. I just got back a couple hours ago. When I was heading down there on the drive, I stopped by a store that was had like a bunch of amazing gamer juices. So I was like, on the way back, I'm going to stop here and get some of these cool gamer juices. And it was closed on the way back because we're recording on a Sunday. So I stopped at a gas station and I got the most interesting looking drink. Have you done this, Adam? This is Olipop.
Yeah.
Olipop classic root beer. The thing that makes me think about it is that it's, 2 grams of sugar. It's root beer. I don't know why we're supposed to care about like a soda being plant powered. And it's got 9 grams of fiber. Wow. Okay.
That's better than Metamucil.
Yeah. What's going on? Okay. Maybe this is a new favorite thing. I'll tell you what's going to be popping. Olipop is going to be popping my hemorrhoids right out. Let's get this down the hatch.
You're going to be turtle heading by the end of the episode.
I also got some Evan Williams eggnog as backup
Okay.
in case this isn't a good gamer juice.
But I mean, you have to drink it, right? I mean,
This does not taste great.
no, I've had that one. It sucks balls. I was gonna hold judgment until I didn't
It
want to
tastes
bias you, but it's bad, isn't it?
it tastes real bad.
Yeah.
Wow, that tastes. How bad can you get?
Eat the jelly bean or finish the drink.
I mean, I'll finish the drink because it's not going to make me vomit, but it tastes very bad.
Now you know why it's plant-based, because it sucks. So that is Olipop. We would not recommend it, both of us. Let's jump right into the fan shout-outs, Alex. Guess what video this came from?
Yeah, Adam.
Nested Spider plushies. All right.
Okay.
He said, my blind friend asked if this was Pornhub.
Yeah, it's the video of you licking the Move controller balls. Adam, this is no longer the fan shout-out segment. It's the what did somebody say about Adam licking balls in front of all of America comment of the week.
The people respond, you know.
See, we don't get the views on like our normal videos to really monetize, but we get enough views on that video that video alone is going to pay for my children's college.
Yeah, and now pay for me going to college. All three of us. Okay, next, we've got our boy, Corporate Zombie, talking about Balatro. He says he's early into it, but it feels like you have to target flushes rather than experimenting with jokers. You kind of just take all the ones they give you. In the UK, it's 10 pounds. I think that's a pound sign.
Yeah, 10 pounds on Android, yeah.
Have you played Balatro at all, or have you had any inclination to want to play it again?
I want to finish this comment because he had a good point at the end. Arcade roguelikes don't need story as such, but there does need to be a desire to explore deep. Okay, no, that's not what I wanted to see. He said something that I thought was really good, like one sentence. Bear with me for a second, Adam. Balatro feels more like one of those scaling games that force you to level up because the enemies have just more health, coin requirements. As you level up your guns, coin value, and multiplier. Sorry, I had to burp this horrible drink. So, I played a little bit more Balatro. My opinion is unchanged. However, I want to make it absolutely clear that that is not a comment on the quality of the game. It is a great game. I just have no desire to play it anymore. Because there's nothing making me excited about playing it more.
It's almost a philosophical question. If you don't want to play it anymore, is it really a good game though? Even though like maybe all the ingredients are there, like I just said, I got salted with dairy, butter, and eggs, all great ingredients. I shove those together and chug it, it's gonna suck. That's not good. That's not a good thing. I don't know.
That's not a bad point. Although I like to be a bit fair, lenient to the like. It has the bones of a great game, which is why I said like I would love to see this game in something else. I'd love to see this get like the Puzzle Quest treatment, right? Where there's like a good story, RPG, you're leveling up jokers or something like that as you go through like a campaign with characters and stuff. But there's nothing tying me emotionally to the game beyond the music being like all right. And it's fun to play. This will probably be the game that I play next time I take a flight, or something like that, or like a.
This is why we work well together, Alex, because no one can trust you. You don't. I am is it good or bad? It's a binary thing. The game is good or it's bad. And you're like, oh, I don't want to be too mean to the developers. No, you made a bad game. He doesn't want to play it. That's it. Sorry.
I will say, Corporate Zombie, I don't think you need to target flushes. I thought the same thing too. I think that's early game strategy before you realize that the real strategy of the game comes down to like when you buy stuff and when you don't buy stuff. At least in my experience, like the real meta game is like which Joker am I going to use now? Because nothing else matters. The card hands don't matter. It's like what tarot cards am I going to pick? What Jokers am I going to pick? The hands you play are almost inconsequential. It's all about what types of multipliers you can rack up.
Don't show me that game, because we've got another game to talk about. It's
Stars. It's Adam, hold on. It's Don't Let Me Look at That Game.
Oh, don't let me look at that game. I mean, it's good. It's good. Also, if anyone is wondering what to help picture Sea of Stars, Alex in his background has one of the main characters. And
Yeah.
important if you're watching via YouTube, if not, don't worry about it. It's not a big thing. We do want to hop into this game. Have you ever heard of Sabotage Studios, Alex?
Never.
Nope. Me neither, but that's not surprising,
Yeah.
right? I'm not
Yeah.
the developer, publisher guy like you are. They made the only other game they've made is The Messenger, and I think I'm not sure if it was DLC or a second game, but there's two Messenger games and then Sea of Stars, and they soon will have a DLC that comes out for Sea of Stars as well. Do I heard you typing, Mr. Alex types like he's a gorilla. Anything else you want to add, or what are you interested in about Sabotage Studio?
Sorry, I forgot to turn on my noise suppression. Uh, I just want to say, like, did you play? I've heard of The Messenger. I never played The Messenger. I'm looking up Sabotage Studio now. The Messenger seemed like it came out at a time when, like, there were all these indie darlings coming out online for, like, Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, and it was just like, oh, they're like all getting mixed together in my head, and I just don't care. I can't care. I think the thing about The Messenger is it looked to me like it was going to be just the name alone made me think of that one game, The Witness, and I was like, oh, it must be a knockoff of The Witness. Now I'm looking at The Messenger, and it looks really awesome. It's a Metroidvania 16-bit ninja game. What a bad name for a game that looks so cool.
You
Um,
deliver the message.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do the ninja stuff with a message instead of a sword. It looks really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't look into it. I was too focused on Sea of Stars. But great. We have another game Alex wants to play. Add it to the freaking 65 long game list we have.
Yeah.
So that they've developed and published this relatively newer studio. I'm actually somewhat surprised. I don't know much about Sea of Stars before I started this, but I knew it was highly recommended. People love it. And so I'm impressed that a studio so young and who only has like 25 people created this game. Like I feel like last year they were even talking about it being a contender for Game of the Year. Obviously, clearly it did not win, but it it got really good buzz. And just from a newer studio, I wouldn't think that, right? So two
Yeah, I mean, these it's probably a newish studio, but I'm sure these guys worked at other companies too, right? They probably all cut their teeth doing something else for bigger game companies and then like formed this studio. But you're not wrong. Like they made a game with a publisher and then they released another game that they self-published. Really cool. And it's also impressive that it did get a lot of accolades when it came out. So it's like we knew going into this that this is something that a lot of people have already liked, right?
It's similar to what they're saying about Gaming is in Session, the podcast. How are these
Yep.
guys who just started already this good? They don't know the other 65 podcasts that we've gotten cease and desisted on and had to cancel or quit ourselves or etc. So this, unlike the Messenger, this is a turn-based RPG. When's the last time you played turn-based RPG, Alex?
That's a good question. Before this, because when this came out, it was on Xbox Game Pass, and I played it for like 10 minutes just to like kill time while my kids were like doing something.
So you
That was the
got
last time.
nowhere. You didn't
Yeah,
even get the, yeah, okay.
I didn't know anything about. I did nothing. Um, I don't know before that when I had played a turn-based RPG.
I mean, are we
Yeah,
talking, were you a kid? Or do you think like maybe it just got muddled in with games that you've played in the past 5 years?
I mean like really played a turn-based RPG, like really played. Probably like the oldest I can remember is like maybe 7 years ago. I was visiting my oh geez, more than 10 years ago. I was visiting my now wife. She was my fiance then. I was visiting her at her house, and I had a little Game Boy Advance, and I
Geez,
had a
so
term.
boring. You had to play a turn-based RPG rather than talk to your fiance.
And it wasn't even a turn-based RPG. It was like a tactics game. So it was like XCOM or something like that. It was Rebel Star Assault or something. And that's the closest I got to a turn-based RPG. Yeah.
I hope she
And I,
listens to this and rips you a new one. Actually, I'm
she
gonna.
made fun of me for playing it on the Game Boy as an adult.
Yeah, you're an adult. Regardless, the things I think about, Alex, I'm not opposed to turn-based RPGs. However, they're almost, in my opinion, solely dependent on the plot, right?
Yeah.
And I think they can get very boring if they don't have some creativity and some variety. So as we jump into Sea of Stars, that's the things I am really looking forward to on whether and how I've assessed this game. So
So
let's go ahead.
I got some more questions. I'm sorry, Adam. I want to keep it moving, but what is, because you've played a lot more of these, I know, turn-based RPGs, JRPGs. Oh no, last JRPG I played was like Persona, right? Like I love that. That was great.
Okay.
But what is like maybe your top two or top three like turn-based RPGs you've played? I'm guessing like Chrono Trigger is one, right?
Um, no, no, it's not.
Okay, give me one.
Uh, Super Mario RPG for sure. Again, the things that make that unique is you didn't know what to expect. They turned the tables on you and letting you play with Bowser, and it was fun. I never felt comfortable because I was like, "What's gonna happen?" Um, Persona certainly wasn't bad. I play more JRPGs, I guess. I don't love turn-based RPGs.
Yeah,
Like, I love Final Fantasy, right? But the games before that they were the action-oriented ones, I I would say Final Fantasy 6, but it was a slog to get through. But the story was epic, and so I was like, okay, Earthbound is another one I've never fully
yeah,
finished just because it's so long. But that is the gold standard of RPGs. And again, combat was totally different, unlike anything that I think anyone has even made today. You just the plot elements were wild, and it always kept you on your toes. So when I look for a good turn-based RPG, that's the recipe. They don't have to do it that well, but that's the blueprint if you want to be successful in my mind, what you gotta at least attempt to replicate.
yeah. I've always, as a kid growing up, I thought turn-based RPGs were so dumb. Like this whole idea of like waiting and doing stuff.
They're boring.
Um,
Yeah.
it seemed really boring to me. As I've gotten older, like sometimes I am in the mood for like a turn-based RPG. Like I remember I was on the hunt for a good turn-based RPG for a long time, like in college or something like that, and nothing was quite landing properly. And until eventually I played, oh crap, what's it called? Lunar Lunar Silver Star Story or something on the Sega CD. I don't know why it was so good. It's as like run of the mill turn based RPG as you can get. I don't know why I felt compelled to play through that thing, but I played through the whole thing and I freaking loved it. But I tried a bunch of other ones out, like Wild Arms. Tried that out, didn't care. I tried out Final Fantasies, didn't care. Tried out Dragon Quest, Dragon Warriors, didn't care about any of those. And I don't know what it takes for like a turn based RPG to be enjoyable to play. And so when this game came out, and it got all this fanfare. People were like, "Yeah, it's so good. It's like the classics." That's what made me interested in trying to play this game because it's like I know there's part of me that can enjoy a turn-based RPG, especially the strategy of it. But I, yeah, I was just curious what you seem like somebody who's more willing to accept and enjoy it than I am.
Can we talk about the game, Alex? Can we
Okay, we can talk
talk?
about.
Can we talk
Wait,
about the game, Alex?
I want to talk about you, Adam. No, let's talk about the game.
I knew it, weirdo. Here's the thing. Okay. So we already talked about the plot is, I think, for both of us, I mean, any turn-based RPG, instrumental. So I'm going to start running down the plot. Again, folks, the rules are we play 20% of every game, decide if we want to play it after that or not. This game's about 36 hours. 20%-ish, I think that's where it was. Was that how much it was? 20% of the game, 6 hours. So we
Mhm.
both played 6 hours of the game. So you start as children, you're in a cave, all you know is you want to become solstice warriors. It's just cutscenes and like
Yeah.
moving, you're not actually interacting. So your curiosity, because you're a kid, you're just like a cat, gets the best of you. You, your friend Garl, and your other friend, there's Valere and there's Zale. Those are the two main characters. And you go to this cave, and you're little kids. You're like, oh, I'm strong, blah, blah, blah. Then they get jumped by a couple monsters. They can't actually fight them because they're little kids and they actually freaking suck. Garl gets his eye cut out, which is actually pretty legit. I thought they were just going to be like, oh, and then he got healed. His eye's gone. Rest of the game, he has no eye. That's cool. So at that point, Garl gets his eye ripped out by a monster, and then the headmaster and some villagers come in and they help you and save you. This is the first, what, 20 minutes of the game? Probably not even that long, 10 minutes. How do you
Yeah.
like the setup there, Alex? Because that springboards the rest of the game.
Yeah, couple elements of the setup. You're two kids who are basically born to be Solstice Warriors. So it's not like you want to become, it's like you're gonna become because you have this like innate ability you were born with. There are two like older Solstice Warriors on the island who you kind of look up and they help train you and stuff. But what the part that you just covered there, yeah, I thought this was great. I thought the introduction of Garl as like this guy who does not have this special ability, but he's part of your team. I thought that was pretty good. The fact that he gets mauled and loses an eye right off the bat, like that was good. But overall, it just seemed like mostly stock JRPG plot, right? You're destined to do blah. There you go.
Yeah, that's why I'm confused why you said, yeah, it's good setup. No, the setup sucked. Are you kidding me? That is your setup, F.
No. The reason I like the setup is because it doesn't waste your time. You play these Final Fantasy games or Dragon Quest games, you're just like hammering through like this story that means nothing, that means like garbage. This
What
like
are you?
it goes quick. It goes
I
quick.
want a game. I want an exact game where you said Final Fantasy X wasted my first 3 hours of my.
No, I'm talking about the games of this ilk that are like this, like Chrono Trigger, right? Like you're doing so much until you finally start playing.
Well, I don't know where you. Well, I don't remember Chrono Trigger. The Final Fantasy. I mean, maybe if you're talking about Final Fantasy One.
Yeah, I'm talking about the JRP, the Super Nintendo era that this is like alluding to.
Final Fantasy
Yeah.
6 wasn't anything like this. And me, oh, F you. You're gonna get me hot. Yeah, I'm not gonna do it today.
Take off the robe. Take off the robe.
I'm not gonna do it with you. So you, as Alex mentioned, you're destined to be a solstice warrior. So after this little dust up and Garl losing an eye, at that point, you go into solstice warrior training. And you do that for years. I'm gonna not go into crazy amount of detail. I don't want to waste your time either. But they go into a school in the sky. They don't get to talk to Garl. They don't get to talk to other villagers. They're in the sky training for years and years. I think it was like 4 years. So during the training, something that's interesting, a little plot device they use, is that you get hints from the other solstice warriors that Alex mentioned that it's like your character's eavesdropping and things, and you just hear them make little comments like they don't need to do this. Why it's unnecessarily dangerous for them. And then at the very end of training, there was a solstice warrior that was like, remember, follow your own heart and motivation and life. Don't let, and then she gets interrupted. But there's little hints that you're like, okay, there's something deeper going on here. Did that motivate you at all, Alex? Like, did you really care? Are you curious? What are your thoughts on that little plot device?
I was curious when it dropped. It kind of hasn't come up in the remaining like the remainder, the other 5 hours I've played. But it was a decent enough point of like, okay, everything is not as it seems. The people who seem like the good guys, like they still seem like good guys, but maybe they're not quite as good. Part of the reason I'm not totally invested or motivated by that, because it does just seem like the headmaster's not a bad guy. He probably just like, I was just trying to protect you or something like that. But I mean, the motivation, right? We got to say what the thing you're supposed to do is, right? You got to go out and there's like some monster you got to kill because these monsters pop up. And if they wake up, yeah, if they wake up this dragon that's like sleeping under the island, that dragon's going to kill everybody or something like that. So you got to go kill these monsters that pop up out of nowhere. That's what Solstice Warriors do. They go out and find these monsters as they pop up and kill them.
So for me, I thought it was interesting, but again, it's so tropey. It's like how many RPGs, even JRPGs, every game does it now is, oh, the person, there was a second meeting. They had a second face. What was that Batman character? Two-Face. It's like, come on. Like, really? Anyhow, I mean, not bad. It's just, again, nothing here has struck me. There's zero originality whatsoever thus far in the game, all right?
I will say, so far, it is maybe 100 times more coherent than the game I'm not allowed to talk about. Kingdom Hearts.
Well, first of all, Kingdom Hearts was meant to be mysterious in the beginning. You were a little kid. You don't know what's going on, and you shouldn't. That's the beauty of the game. You're just as lost as Sora.
And
And
even after like 20 games, it's still just as incoherent.
F,
Anyways, keep going, Adam.
F you. So, as Alex mentioned, there are these monsters that are called dwellers, solstice warriors. These dwellers will wreak havoc on the land and let out evil and their bad news. It's your job. Solstice warriors are just born, what do you call them? Like, not mercenaries, warriors, I guess. You
Yeah.
have heightened powers. You are the ones who can kill them, but they're so strong. You have to wait until an eclipse. Then I forgot what the metrics were, but they weaken a little bit. Then you can actually attack them and kill them. So once you become trained, you graduate, you go out and embark on a journey to kill the dweller. So the first area you go to is a jungle type area. And there, at that point, it's like a big celebration. Everyone was like, yeah, you graduated. And then everyone sees you off of the village. But Garl wasn't there. And you're like, oh man, Garl, my best friend, where the heck was he? But you had to leave. Boom, in the jungle, Garl jumps you. And he's like, I wouldn't leave you guys alone. He becomes, although he's not a solstice warrior, becomes part of your party as a warrior cook, which is an interesting
Warrior Cuck, more like it, right?
you got it. So, I mean, well, again, to me, this seemed like oh, he doesn't have the skill, but he's got a heart of gold. And he has the power of, he loves his friends and he's gonna
Yeah.
be there. Like,
Um,
it just, again, it's so tropey. Like, I don't like it.
and looking through your notes, you don't quite mention this, but there's things. The whole Garl thing was a good setup, I think, and then his return seemed very undeserved. And I get it's early on in the game, so like maybe that he's not supposed to be a big story thing at that point, but like his presence seems undeserved. He seems unreasonably capable for what they're doing, right? Like these Valer and Zale are like,
What's even more hilarious? He's the best one in the party.
yeah,
He's
he's
the
the
best
strongest one.
character.
And but what makes it even worse is like you go to this like mountain and there's this like ghost spirit that teaches you like how to use magic, right? The whole like use magic without using magic thing. It basically if you attack somebody with a normal attack, little sprites come out and you can absorb those. And there's a whole spiel about like only solstice warriors can do this. And then Garl, he like, and Garl, you just seem like you're friendly enough. You can do it too. How about that?
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right. So he is literally just as good as these famed, destined warriors, and nothing about him is bad. And he's just, and like when the game starts, Zale, the fire guy that you have, is like the healer. And so I started building him up as a healer and stuff. Well, no, Garl is also a healer. So not only is he like super strong as a warrior, and he hits really hard, and he has great defense, he can also heal everybody on the team. And with the combo attacks, he can do all the magic stuff too, and he can get magical powers just through the power of like he's just such a good damn friend that he has magic too now. Where I started off liking Garl, now it just feels like cheap. The only thing giving me hope about Garl in the story so far is there's a game, Final or Fantasy Star 2, turn-based RPG, hard as balls, but I was playing through it, and they give you the craziest switch in that you have a character that you're playing with the whole time, and she's like way stronger than everybody else, and you're leaning on her to get through the game. And then the final boss of like the third dungeon is freaking her. She turns evil. There's no way to turn her back. And so this character you've been building up is like an evil woman, and she's the boss. So like if something like that happens with Garl, that's going to be cool. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But that's my beef with Garl.
Yeah, I agree. I do not think that's going to happen. Maybe we could be wrong, right? But we're on the same page about Garl. So now you, the listeners, are following along. You got Garl now in your party, and he's awesome. So you go to this mole town. I forgot what it's called, and there's a dark wizard who's plugging up holes in the mountain, so they're moles. So obviously there's mines. Again, stereotypical tropey crap. So there is it's actually kind of funny. They said there's this dark wizard and they're creating enemies that are plugging holes that ultimately the holes need to be clear because the wind goes through the holes. It makes a sound and it keeps the aforementioned dragon that Alex suggested earlier. It keeps that dragon asleep. The dragon wakes up, he's going to wreck everybody. So the fact this dude's plugging the holes up, he's blocking the sound, the dragon's going to wake up and kill everybody. So it's a big problem. So you go into the mine, everyone's freaking out. You're like, I'll do this. We're solstice warriors. And of course, there's the whole thing of we were like, and then Garl was like, no, we got solstice warriors. We'll help because helping people is the right thing to do. That's how you got roped into it. So turns out the Dark Wizard, I was thinking was like going to be a Dark Wizard. No, it's another mole. It's just a mole with some magic powers so you can make like little monsters and rock buddies for himself. And it's a boss fight, but it's like after you defeat him, he's like, "Oh, everyone makes fun of me because I don't like to dig. Instead, I like to use magic." And then Garl makes him feel good and gives him a little pep talk and garbage. Well, Alex, what did you think before I go nuts?
Yeah, I mean, the more I played it, the more it just seemed like, this isn't supposed to have a good story. This is just supposed to feel like what old JRPGs felt like, which to me is disappointing, right? Like, I don't need a mature story, but I at least need like a good story that has like some interesting things happening to it. And this is Saturday morning cartoon stuff, right? Like
Yeah,
nobody dies.
that is a good
Yeah.
analogy. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, nobody dies. Like as long as you're friends enough, like things are okay. And that's what threw me off, right? Like Garl right at the gate gets his eye ripped out, which is totally not Saturday morning cartoon stuff. But then after that, it's like that's the worst thing that's going to happen in the whole game is somebody's going to lose an eye. That's the worst thing that can happen. I bet somebody will die at the headmaster's probably going to die at the end. That's the worst thing that can happen. Somebody's going to lose an eye. One thing I will say is, Adam, have you ever seen that cartoon, The Avatar? Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I know of it, but I have not watched it.
I mean, it's a really good show. I watched it with my kids, and it ended up being actually just really pretty dang good. Like way better than it has any right to be. A lot of the stuff in this story seems to be cribbing from that. Like somebody born to have a special power to do this certain special thing, they have to do it at the eclipse, and like, I mean, you see that in a lot of stories, but like the thing that makes me think the reason people love this game is not because the story's going to end up being great. It's that the story's going to end up reminding them of a lot of stories that they liked as kids, right? That's what it feels like this is going to be.
I don't
Huh,
want.
it kind of sounds like Kingdom Hearts, right? The story's not good, but at least Mickey Mouse is
Oh,
there.
you aren't allowed to talk about it. Don't bring it up. Here's the thing. It's not like I walk through the aisles of Victoria's Secrets and look at those, C-cup bras and it reminds me of Alex's mom. That doesn't that's not you can't base that doesn't make a good game. That doesn't make a good Victoria's Secret visit. It doesn't. I get
What
what you're
does make a
saying.
good Victoria's Secret visit, Adam? How often do you visit Victoria's Secret?
We have to talk about this game. You have detracted us enough. We have to move forward. Similarly to the actual Saturday night cartoons, which is probably the best analogies you've ever made on any podcast I've been with you. You go to a pirate town now, and there's pirates who are supposed to be big and bad, and they rape and pillage and murder people. These guys are a bunch of freaking clowns. The guy can take his shirt off and get muscles and be like temporarily thing. They're cracking jokes. They trick you by doing an arm wrestle. And because you lose an arm wrestling, you got to help them get a coin that will allow them to investigate a ghost ship. But again, it's all like, it's not interesting, in my
So
opinion.
So one thing I did like about this, you run into the pirates and somebody's explaining the pirates. One character, it's like the woman character. She's a woman pirate and she basically pokes holes in all of the RPG tropes that this game is exhibiting, right? She makes fun of the fact that how come every single town you go to has a weapon that's just a little bit better than the weapon you have? How come every merchant you see in the middle of a cave is accepting, they're still living in a cave, that you just gave them 25,000 gold? How come every enemy is just like a little bit stronger than the enemy you saw before? And I thought that was like a clever homage, but the fact is they don't do anything with it. It's like they're committing the sin that they're making fun of right there. The other thing is the head pirate's name. Did you see what the head pirate's name was, Adam?
I don't remember it.
It's literally Captain Cliche.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's the point to this is like it's supposed to be making fun. Like, hit you with a elbow, be like, don't you see what we're doing there? And it's like, yeah, I see what you're doing there, and it sucks.
that makes me like the game even less. Because yeah, that is just like that's this doesn't feel like a real game. I mean, I'll just put it out on the table. I feel like this game has wasted 6 hours of my life. This has shown me nothing. This hasn't gotten me excited. Honest to God, if you want to live a long time and you want to feel like you're immortal, play Sea of Stars. I've never seen 10 minutes go by more slowly in my entire life. I was struggling. I played this game through like 2 weeks because I couldn't bear to play it for more than 15, 20 minutes. And it's crap like this. What is that? Oh my, thank gosh I didn't see that. I would have freaking quit. Um, yeah. I mean, Saturday morning cartoons, you nailed it. And I'm sorry, I want something that is, I don't know how you mentioned it, adult themed. I want something adult themed. I
You just
want
want to see nipples sometimes, Adam. I get it.
I want nips, nips and grips on nips. That's what I want to see, and I get none of it here. This is like your kid, your oldest kid. If you This is like a introduction to RPG game.
My first RPG, yeah.
Exactly, and that is makes me want to barf. And what I don't understand, we'll get into it more next segment. This game has fantastic reviews. They're all 9 and 10 out of 10s. How? Who is playing this? Who is reviewing this? What is happening? Really, during the break, Alex, friggin' look it up.
That's what I'm doing, yeah.
I hope you find someone talking crap about it, but Steam, it's a 9 out of 10. Other video game magazines, 5 out of 5s, 10 out of 10s. It was being talked about games. How? What is wrong with you people? Is there any way that this is just this whole grading system is somehow a back alley? Like, hey, we'll give you a little something something if you give us a high
Payola.
score? Is that possible?
I mean, people definitely do that. It's probably not happening for this game, and it probably doesn't happen at a scale that makes sense. Because anybody can review any game, right? As long as they play the game, they can review it. We'll talk about it after the break. I got some things to say about that comment that you made there, Adam.
About what? Someone buying?
No, just the reviews in general. Yeah, yeah.
I can't wait to hear them. We have just a little more plot that we need to cover, folks.
Okay.
Then we're going to talk about the combat, obviously huge in RPGs, so we're going to talk about that, and then we'll assess. Well, probably know what I think, but what you don't know is what song we're gonna come into in the second segment. I ain't afraid of. Wait, what was it? No, don't show me no ghosts.
Don't make me look at any ghosts.
Don't let me see this RPG, because it sucks. Listen, here's the thing, Alex. We have a little more of the plot we want to dive into. Again, we only played the first 20%, folks. And then we'll talk about the combat. Obviously, that's instrumental in any game, but definitely, I think, turn-based RPGs and how repetitive they are. And then open floor. It's like, what do they call it? A field day? Is that what they call it in hunting? When it's just like there are no laws. You take whatever gun you want and it's mass chaos.
Isn't that open season?
It's open season. Thank you. I didn't think field day was correct, but you got my back. Thank you, Alex.
I'll be your Garl for
I,
idiomatic language.
yes. Are you finished with that Ollie Pop?
Yeah, I finished it. It was horrible. That's why I was burping through the whole podcast, getting that stuff down and out.
The thing is, the burps suck too. Like,
Yeah, well, I have this Evan Williams eggnog is a lot better than that, and it's kind of making things better for me.
nice, nice. What's gonna maybe make it come back up though, is finishing this plot. So after you help the mole people and all that stuff, and then you go to the pirate town, and then you get the coin. So again, you tangle with some pirates. You go to a dungeon. You get the coin, and then you're off to this. I forgot what they called it. My apologies. This ghost town, essentially, and they see a villager's essentially soul get taken, and then the villager's like almost like a shell. They almost look like a ghost, and then they're going to the dweller. Like they can't help it. It's like you're just a husk of yourself, and you're brainwashed, and they're going to the dweller. So they go to investigate it because they want to. Oh, let's help the villager. We can't let the villager get eaten, even though everyone tells them, dude, there's nothing you can do. The good-hearted heroes can't let that happen. So they go to investigate, and then Garl's soul gets eaten. And then there's a mysterious person who pops up, is like, son, his soul gone, but I know how we can maybe get it back. You take Garl back to the ghost town. He's in bed, and you find out that you need a stone. So that's where the 6 hours for me ended. Alex was very soon after that or before that. And that's as far as we got. So, as a recap, we've talked about it a lot. Are there anything else plot wise you would like to address, Alex?
No, not really. Although I think one thing is that it seems like you're investing a lot more in the plot of this game than I am. I mean, I didn't really think this game was
Not
gonna have
for
a
an
great plot.
RPG. If it's not plot, what is it? The gameplay?
Yeah, and I think there's good things there. So I'm glad we're getting into the gameplay part. Um,
See, I disagree. Like the gameplay, admittedly, is not bad, right? We'll get into it.
yeah.
It's not bad, but it's not unique. I can list other RPGs that do the same thing, and not that this is doing those things worse necessarily, but it's just like,
So I mean, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this, and we just talked about Balatro, right? I have no reason to keep playing. One, because it's an infinite game, but two, there's nothing to check off on the list aside from like get more cards. Um, in this game, like the story isn't compelling in any way. The story like has very minimal amounts of interest. And like I said with Balatro, it's like I just need that minimal amount of interest. So if the gameplay is good, I'll keep going. I need the slightest reason to go do that next thing in the game. Like games I love historically, like Mega Man, right? Not a great plot by any means. Certainly not the reason you play it, but it's there, and it's just that little bit more reason to go play it. Almost any game, right? You play, it's like the plot's not that good unless you're talking about like Metal Gear Solid or Nier
Kingdom
Automata or something like
Hearts.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
But like it is, I think the word would be serviceable, right? Like it does what it needs to do to give me a reason to just keep playing the
It
game.
services me. Yes.
It services me. So let's talk about the gameplay. Adam, I just want to preface the gameplay in general of like really what they did with this game, in my opinion, is they said, hey, you know what? We all grew up playing these JRPGs, these 8-bit, these 16-bit, sometimes 32-bit RPGs. And here's the things we liked about it. Here's the things we didn't like about it. And let's make the things we didn't like better. And let's make the things that we did like even perfect, right? So there's things I like about turn-based combat. Um, and this makes it more action. This game makes it more action-oriented. The combat, I think, is really good. Some of the best turn-based RPG combat I've played.
No,
About as
this man can't remember the last time he played turn-based, so keep that in
No,
mind.
I meant like the last time I played one seriously. Like I've dabbled with a bunch, right? Like I played like the first 10 minutes of Pokemon. I've played the first 30 minutes of
Oh,
Golden
I
Sun.
can't
I've
wait to
played,
play Pokemon. Oh, I can't wait. Oh, anyhow, sorry.
but my point is like a lot of those games they get boring, and I hate playing like the typical trope in a JRPG is like random encounters suck. Random encounters are some of the worst things to happen in JRPGs because the combat can be so monotonous and so mundane or so unfair. It's like my least favorite thing about like what our boy Corporate Zombie was alluding to is like sometimes you lose a fight just because you have less numbers than the people you're fighting against, not because you're worse at the game than the people you're fighting against. And I hate that in the game. And this game avoids that because there are bosses that I fought in the game that I might have, or there's enemies I fought in the game that I felt underleveled against. But because I'm really good at the timing, I can kind of get an infinite feedback loop on some of the moves that I have to keep constantly attacking, constantly attacking. I can diminish the damage they're causing me because I can time my defend button just right. Like that stuff really brings skill into the typical JRPG combat system in a way that it didn't. I mean, Mario had it a bit, but in a way that it wasn't present in like Final Fantasy IV or Dragon Quest 1 through 8 or Pokemon even. So stuff like that. So us just say one thing I like, the traversal feels really smooth through the overworld, although you can only move in the 8 or the 4 directions. The game's really smooth. Climbing up a ladder doesn't waste your time. Swimming doesn't waste your time. You know, jumping around the environments, which are lush and they're pretty. They're like a hyper-powered 16-bit version. Everything looks really good and retro. But like, it's not a pain in the neck to run around these environments, which is something that I used to encounter with these old games. It's like, oh, you're like moving on a very apparent grid. It doesn't feel like that. You're moving smoothly around everywhere. So I don't lament the fact that if I see a chest over on the other side of the map, it's like, oh, I gotta walk over there again. It's like, no, let's just go over there. It's fine, whatever. Um, and then, although you've talked about the plot, like we agree, the plot's nothing special. It seems like you hate it, but it's nothing special. It doesn't belabor the point, right? You get through it really fast. It goes pretty quickly. Even stuff that I really hate, like I hated in what was that toy game that we played? The second game we played here that we didn't like.
Lucky Squire.
Plucky Squire. When you got to like talk to a bunch of people, like it doesn't take that long. It's not great, but it doesn't take that long. So like the game doesn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't think it's more clever than it actually is in terms of writing, and it doesn't punish you and make you have to sit through all of this like kind of not amazing writing. And then a lot of the game, the meat of the game is the combat. And let's just I guess we could take the combat bit by bit. It's turn-based combat. It's like you see a little timer on the enemies to know when they're about to attack and like how many moves can be done before they attack. You can choose the order that you attack, so I can be Zale first, then Garl, then Valir. You know, some every attack has its own like attribute, right? You can have like a sun attack or a wind attack, or you have like a slash attack or a bash attack. Um, and the enemies will like charge up their special attacks, and you can break their charging up attacks by attacking with the appropriate counter attack. So this enemy might be charging up his spell, and if I hit him with a combination of like a sun attack plus 2 slash attacks, then I can break their spell and kill their move for the turn. And so I have to actually think about who's going to attack first beyond just like, okay, who can take the most hits before they die. Stuff like that really makes the combat engaging and enjoyable and thought provoking. Whereas most old JRPGs are like, I just hope I leveled enough so I can win.
I mean, you got points, right?
Yeah,
You've
yeah,
got points. And the combat's not bad. You're right. Moving on the map feels great. I feel that this. No, I'm not saying older RPGs had strategy. I'm not saying that. I don't think this, I mean, technically, quote unquote, has strategy, but I don't think it matters. I tried to die, and I had to, I'm on normal difficulty. I had to go out of my way to die. It's such, and that's in the very last portion. 6 hours into the game, I tried to die, and I had to purposely let myself get killed to die. I feel like at least at this point doesn't make much of a difference. I see what you're saying, it adds a little bit, but it's not like it's that much strategy. It's not what's it, ogre tactics? It's or whatever the heck it is. It's not
yeah.
that. So it's not bad. I how to the enemy thing is a little difficult because the way I like to play, I don't necessarily like the random encounters, but I like that I can grind as much as I want to. You can't do that with this game.
Right.
There's no way.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. If you
I,
go back to previous environments, the enemies are there again.
I guess I didn't do that, or when I did, I didn't see them.
Yeah,
Uh,
I backchecked. I fought the same group of enemies like 4 or 5 times.
okay. Well then, okay, cool. That alleviates one of my issues. I don't want to do it because I feel like it's unnecessary. But if you know you're going to a boss or something, sometimes it's nice to overlevel. You level up so slowly though which again,
Yeah.
other RPGs have that issue, and that's probably just a more of a genre type thing. I I just feel like nothing makes it that special. Like again, Earthbound had the running timer. Final Fantasies have like the time thing. So you can't take too long with your decision. Otherwise, you're essentially eating up other turns and you're getting hit simultaneously. Super Mario RPG had the more fun and engaging attacks, similar to this, but I feel like they were just little more fun. The animations were a lot cooler. Um, those Chrono Trigger, like all these had something that they excelled in. And this, in my opinion, doesn't excel in anything. It's not bad, but it doesn't excel. What do you think is its best point? Like you're like this combat, this is
Yeah.
better than any other, RPG that I've played.
So the strategy in most JRPGs I've played, like even including Persona, um, it usually comes down to what attack am I going to do next? Like the strategy like takes place before the fight, and it's like I need to make sure I have like the right loadout, the right spells leveled up, the right characters equipped to do blah 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 blah, and be ready for what's happening. This you're not picking different characters, right? You get the three, and I think you're probably going to be stuck with the three. I think you might get a fourth. Um, and the strategy comes into the combat itself, and it's usually trying to think 3 or 4 steps ahead of like, okay, if I use this guy now and then they charge up a special attack, then I can't use this person if the special attack requires that I eliminate them using the wind. Or sometimes you'll see all three enemies charge up a special attack, and you can't neutralize all of them, and so you try to use an attack that's going to at least knock them all down by 25% or 50%, so you minimize the amount of damage you get. And so the strategy takes place not before the battle, but during the battle of like, not only what am I going to do, but who's going to do it, and when am I going to do these things. And so it's like a three-tiered layer of strategy that normally in most JRPGs I never have to think about, and I do just fine. It's just like, what's my strongest attack? Is it the right color? Then that I've thought as much as I need to think about this. And this doesn't really matter. This doesn't dwell on that fact as much. It dwells more on the fact of like, okay, one, your best route out of this is to do the moonerang, where when it comes back to you, if you time it, you can reflect it back, and it comes back to you again. You can reflect it back infinite number of times, and if you're good enough and skilled enough at the timing, then you can make sure you knock out all the enemy locks and stuff like that. Or, I don't have enough mana to use the spell that I need to use, but I do have a combo attack. So I need to make sure I attack with character B so that character A and C can do their combo attack, which is going to satisfy the criteria I need. So like that's what I like about it. It feels much more cerebral while still, actively engaging with the timing required of the enemies. So much so it's where when I see a new enemy I haven't encountered before, I'm actually excited. I'm like, what's this battle going to look like? What am I going to do? What are they going to do? How am I going to defend? Those things are interesting to me. In most JRPGs, it's just like, hey, let's just throw the kitchen sink at the enemy and just see what happens. Oh, that works fine. Great. Um, I will admit to you, it's maybe a bit easy. You can turn up the difficulty a variety of ways. I will like the boss fights. I kind of get out of those way sooner and much easier than I expect to where it almost feels like, okay, I worked really hard for that, but like I probably should have needed to like work harder for it. It doesn't feel well earned to win
That I
there.
actually like. I hate boss battles and RPGs. That's like, oh, guess what? The next 40 of your minutes of your life is dedicated to beating this boss. I hate that.
It's
That
not the time though, not so much the time, but more like I like to get out of the boss fight by like the skin of my teeth sometimes, where it's like, okay, I got one last guy and we did this move and oh, we finally won. Oh man, thank God, because I would not have lasted 2 more turns. I've never gotten that close.
yeah, I me neither. Great. Again, I like that it's not like that.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, all the things you just mentioned that you like, I see why you like them, but I play games that do the same exact thing. Like, again, I think it's on purpose, right? You said,
Yeah, yeah.
and I agree, they probably looked at what is the best aspects of all these games and they incorporated it. but it's not like they came up with that idea and that makes it unique. No, Final
Yeah,
Fantasy
right.
VII is the same exact thing. Like, except, oh,
So
instead of like little points, oh, I forgot what Final Fantasy VII called it, but it's like it's the same thing. So where maybe you get a little more brownie points because you haven't played these RPGs, I'm like, that's a stole another idea from someone else, and like it's not new.
So I don't think this game's trying to do anything new, and I think that's why people like it, right? The reason this game is enjoyable and loved by everybody isn't that it's doing things you've never seen before, although admittedly I haven't seen all of this stuff before. It's that it has the right references, right? It took the best elements of what the Super Mario RPG combat, took the best element of like a Final Fantasy, took the best element of like XYZ, and it put all those together into one combat system that works really damn well. And when you read the reviews, right, all the taglines are like, "Hey, they took the old school formula of the games that we love and it perfected it." And that, yeah, this a turn-based JRPG has never felt as good to me as this one has. And although I haven't beaten a ton of them, I've played a bunch of them. This one feels the best to me. To where if there were a level, usually in JRPGs, there's something that's like, "Hey, there's the combat tower. You got to fight 100 encounters and get to the end." And I just like I don't want to do it. It doesn't sound fun to me. If I ran into that in this game, I'd be like, hell yeah, let's do a battle arena. Let's see how far I can go with this because I'm having fun with this combat. This is I'm in when I'm walking through the map and an enemy pops up, I'm thinking to myself, hell yeah, let's do it. Whereas most RPGs, about 25% of the way through it, I'm like, the only reason I'm fighting this guy is because I need to level up, not because I actually want to engage with the combat. I have to do it because I need to level up. And I think that's the difference here. I'm really liking the combat because it's doing all the stuff I like and it's doing none of the stuff I don't like.
I don't understand. Okay, so say let's just we agree on the combat. Let's say we agree
Okay.
on it. It's
Okay.
really good. Like why? Like it's not fun. Like I'll admit, Helldivers 2, although I didn't love the game, the combat can be fun. Like
Mm-hmm.
right, like it's just straight up fun. That's how it is, right? This is not fun. Like it's you can appreciate it, but at least to me, it's turn based. It's not you don't get to throw wild combos. You're like you say I mean timing kind of like is into it, but there's no like dodging like in some of the newer activity based RPGs where oh you got to time it and it's real action movements and stuff. Like it's none of that. I don't know how you can play this and say I know the plot sucks. I don't care about the plot. And yeah, maybe the graphics are okay, but they're not anything like uber special. But man, this combat is so fun. I want 36 hours of this. I can't fathom someone saying that. But it must be true. It has to be.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it
because
wouldn't have good reviews.
there's so many different things happening in the combat without being an overwhelming amount, and the thrill for me isn't necessarily the timing. That's just something that's there to keep me engaged, and it kind of is a way of rolling the dice while rolling the dice to be like, oh, thank God I pulled that off. That gave me the little extra oomph I needed. Um, the fun in this is like thinking ahead like four moves and making a plan and then executing the plan and then seeing it come to fruition and it paying off or not paying off and then evaluating like, okay, can I use that? Can I do that moving forward? And constantly adjusting that plan based on what the enemy is doing too. So it's less fun of like how much fun is it moving my thumbs around on the controller, and it's more like I'm having a lot of fun up here in my head thinking about like the next three moves I'm going to make, the next 4 or 5 moves I'm going to make
But
to
that
counteract what the
that's
enemy could be doing.
all good turn-based RPGs. Surely there's some that aren't good, and you're right. It
But
you have to be the higher level or choose the right attack, right? Yeah, ignore those. But all good ones, it's the same thing.
the good ones are the ones that I've played, right? I've played Fantasy Star. I've played Final Fantasy, what was it, 4 or whatever that people I played the one people loved from the Super Nintendo era, and that thing was boring as hell. I've played a bunch of these, and they do have that, but it's the cerebralness of it is like you got to think like one step ahead of yourself. You got to think like 2 steps ahead of yourself. This is like if I can formulate a plan 4 moves in advance to do this, and it's not going to work the next time I fight somebody, and that to me is like a constantly evolving battlefield. that I'm enjoying trying to navigate and think about.
I mean, I guess I get your point. I don't agree with it. I mean, I just
I
don't.
think the word I'm looking for is depth. This combat has more depth than most JRPGs do. I mean, even if it's one level more depth, that apparently that's the one that I needed to make me like this.
Yeah, people, right? You like different things. I just don't get it. Like the
You're
other
not cerebral
older.
enough. You're not cerebral enough, Adam. Adam, I'm from Hollywood. I'm smart. I want to hit the A and attack with the troll. I'm from Hollywood, Adam. I got the brains, man.
I just all of the other older RPGs do it better. Like maybe that's why you didn't like it because you weren't thinking ahead. And if anything, they were harder and you had to be more prepared because they didn't tell you when the enemy was going to attack. Like, which I mean, it, I don't know. It babies you in some ways. Actually, I think it babies you in a lot of ways, if I'm being honest. I think is part of the reason why it is easier. Either way, I have no problem with the combat. I don't think it's bad. For me, I'm not loving it to where I'm like, wow, I want 30 more hours of this. I want to play like that. That's not it at all. Like I did get to the point where I saw an enemy and I was like, oh, I don't want to fight him. I wasn't there, but I was just like, oh, another enemy. It was neutral. The whole game, my EKG flatlined. Like, or maybe that's a bad analogy.
See, for me, every JRPG I've played before this, like by the end of the first dungeon, I'm like, I've seen it, I'm done, get me out of here. But no, you have to grind. I hate grinding for the sake of grinding. And every other JRPGs made me grind for the sake of grinding. It's like, nope, you gotta have this magical number has to be 92 before you can move forward in the story. It's like that freaking sucks.
I mean, yeah, when that happens, you're right. That does suck.
In
That,
every other JRPG
that's
I've
how it
played,
is.
that happens.
Then you're playing the sucky ones,
I'm
dog.
playing the most celebrated ones because otherwise I would not be playing these games.
Ah, bull crap. Okay. Anything else you want to mention about the combat? I feel like we've discussed it.
Yeah, we beat that to death. What else do you want to talk about in this game, Adam? What else can I correct you about on this game?
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know where we want to go. You kind of what are your overall feelings about the game? You know mine by now. I think
Well,
a lot of
you
it is
you've crapped on the game enough. I think we should just say what do you like? Say something nice about the game, Adam?
okay. I haven't totally crapped on the game. I think it's an easy game to play, which has its timing, right? Like you don't always want a freaking ball buster of a game. And the combat works well. It's pretty. That's
You like the
not
music?
bad. That's not
You like the music?
no. Actually, the music when you play a normal enemy, that's a banger.
Mhm.
And all the rest of it, garbage.
Garbage. It's always garbage or good. To me the music is like it's all right. Like I think I do like the combat music. I can't remember though. But
Dude, the
it's
combat, the main, not the boss combat, the main combat, I mean, it's a banger. Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
very good.
Okay. We know what you don't like. You don't like the story. You don't like the unoriginality, right?
Yeah, like I want to be motivated. Like, admittedly, again, I hated Silent Hill 2, but there was part of me that was like, what's happening here? Like, I
Yeah.
want to know what's going on. I wanted to move forward. I don't want to move. There's nothing here that makes me want to continue. Literally nothing. Which is why again, I think you did a little research. I'm really curious in what people loved about this. I mean, okay, they
Yeah.
the older parts of games and put them together. Is that all it takes? If you like the older games, play the older games. You're telling me Earthbound is worse than this? So you're a
Earth
freaking liar. You've never played Earthbound.
I haven't, but I've read about Earthbound. It apparently becomes a grind fest, becomes a random encounter fest, and it really ruins itself with like the grindy nature of the combat. Like, it's very basic turn-based combat in Earthbound, from what I've played.
No,
But
they've
it's
got the
funny.
running timer. They've got the quick action, like like movements. Like you got to decide what you're doing in real time. Otherwise, again, you're burning clock, and then the enemy's just going to keep hitting you. Like
We
there,
should play. We should play that translated Game Boy Advance game, Mother 3, Earthbound 3.
I'd
That should
gladly
be.
play it.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we do that
Better than
soon.
this, I'm sure.
Maybe do that soon after this, so we can see how it stacks up. Adam, here's a good quote that explains, positive reviews from publications. Sea of Stars. This is from Cultured Vultures. I've never read their outlet, but they said Sea of Stars is a love letter to classic 1990s JRPGs that transcends the genre and perfects the form. Another review from Game Grunt says, let's see. Amazing looking sound and sounding title that's captured all you love from classic turn-based RPGs and improved upon it. Everything, all of these come down to people saying, hey, this is what I like. This is nostalgic, it perfects the form, and it modernizes what I loved from the retro games. But then one group at the bottom, Game Mag, says Sea of Stars is an old school RPG cut on modern molds, which because of its dragging and template solutions turns a fun adventure into routine work. Does that sound like you, Adam?
No, no, I actually don't agree with that. I agree with oh, I agree with my facts, obviously. There's nothing to push you forward. The combat's not that fun. The plot is terrible. I hope all three of them die. I hope the whole freaking world gets eaten by the Dweller and they all mercilessly are just assassinated. I would love that. This game, though, I don't understand. I just don't understand it.
The game, okay, so I mean, we talked about what you like. Let's go into this, and I'll give my kind of my thoughts on the game. We'll go into our last thing. Are you going to keep playing it, Adam? Are you going to keep playing?
Of
Answer's no, right? Like
course,
you want to stop now, right?
yeah.
Okay, all right. Mine's a bit mixed. I think I'm going to say I don't want to keep playing, but I don't want to be tied to keeping playing it. But it's
Yes!
not because I think the game is bad.
Yes!
It's not
Yes,
because I think the game is
Alex,
bad.
yes! No, play the celebratory music. Play that ish right now. I was terrified. This is the exact type of freaking game. That's right. Oh, I was sure this is the game you're going to be like, oh, it's fun, Adam. It's fun. Thank gosh. Yes. Yeah, I couldn't do another 30 hours. I couldn't do it. It's not good, but I'm curious, what is the motivating factor that you don't want to put in another 30 hours? Because also, that's the thing, Alex. If this were a 12-hour game, a 10-hour game, I would say, yeah, let's finish it. 36 hours I feel like this is the quintessential game. You know how you play games and you're like, I played 40% of the game and I feel like I experienced the best that it has to offer and I'm good to move on now. I don't need to beat it. That's how I feel about this game. I saw the best that it is
Yeah.
and I can appreciate it. I'm like, okay, I get it, but I have no inclination of wanting to finish it. That's how I feel. For the first time, I feel inside of you. Or I get you. But okay, I'm done. Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think the thing that makes me want to play the game more is that it's an extremely easy game to play, like because nothing's frustrating. It's never frustrating you, right? Like the combat's smooth, the traversal's smooth. Even when they're giving you the plot that's not great, like that gets done pretty quick, and you're on to the next thing, right? Like we played 6 hours, we went through like 5 different worlds. Like the game moves at a pretty fast pace, although it's like 30 hours long. Um, the reason I don't feel compelled to play it more is because the story doesn't seem like it's going to do anything great. And I've been burned by other JRPGs in the past where it's like I get told that the story is great, and then I go through it. It's like this is like if this story were a movie, it would be a very boring, not great movie, but not bad, just a very average movie, right?
Hmm?
It's not intriguing. There's nothing intriguing about the story. The reason I want to play it is the combat. To me, it's like, are they going to throw another wrinkle into this? Like, I'd like to see what the next combo I get is that pairs up my characters. That would be fun to see and see how that works. If I could just play combo, if I could just play combat and have the story just run steamroll me while I play through combat without having to walk around, I'd love that. But from what I've seen, this game is like opening up more and more. It wants me to explore. The exploration's unrewarding. Like I backtracked through an entire world because I knew there was like a power you got that pushed that green block with wind. I
Yeah.
backtracked all the way back and found a chest that I remembered that's there. It's like I can't wait to get this sweet ass weapon, and it gave me like a rainbow conch shell. I have
Oh,
like 20 of those things, and it's like that burns my hide so bad when I remembered something you told me and I go back and do it and you give me like a freaking collectible sticker, like that's the worst. No, I want a better weapon. I want something stronger. I also don't like that when I do like save up money and I buy a new weapon for my character, I feel zero difference in their performance other than they were delivering 17 damage before and now they're delivering 18 damage. Like that is such a muted feeling for the evolution of a character. I like more when it's like, oh, suddenly you're trashing everybody towards the tail end of a dungeon. Like one hit kills, yeah, bring it. And then you go to the next dungeon and you got to grind yourself back up to the top. This, you don't feel that. It's a very linear increase all the way across the board, which is not super thrilling. Um, I might keep playing the game as like a podcast game or an audiobook game, but I have Balatro for that. So it's like, I don't know. Like, it's inoffensive. It feels good, but it's not intriguing in the slightest. And there's just better games to be playing, I think. So you're lucky, Adam. I'm letting you escape.
I
Part of me
love
is
it
like, let's do one more bout with it, but I don't think I got it in me either.
because I mean, we didn't say, oh, we could play another 20% and stop. We got to play it all or we stop, right?
Maybe I'll do like another couple hours and tell you like, oh, it got better, but I don't think it's going to.
I mean, maybe what I would do is go on YouTube, look up a plot synopsis for like 4 hours or a 4 minute plot synopsis, right? And see,
Yeah,
does it start to get intriguing? But like, I don't care,
yeah.
right?
I don't
Like,
care. That's the thing. I don't care. I don't care about the
yeah,
plot.
and that's a killer. If I don't like, I'll play Tetris. I'll play Helldivers before I play this. That's a better
I
podcast game than this is.
Oh, Helldivers is an amazing podcast game. I think the only thing plot wise that would be great is if Garl becomes the bad guy and there's no redemption. He becomes the bad guy and he stays the bad guy and he's the bad guy. But I don't think that's going to happen.
That doesn't follow my first RPG rules, so yeah, it
Yeah,
won't.
yeah,
It
yeah. Exactly. It doesn't follow Saturday morning cartoon rules. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that you can't happen.
All right.
I don't know. Maybe if people have played this, comment, let us know what you think. Like, maybe we're wrong, right? That's the danger of these things that you kind of judge a book by 20%, and then by the end, maybe it's incredible. I just don't see it.
What
Uh,
if 50% of the way into the game there's nudity?
Evo already burned me. I didn't see nips there. I am not doing it. I played through a whole game to see if she was shirtless and didn't
Too
see
much hair
too
in the
much.
wrong places.
Such bull crap. I hate it. Alex, the next game, however, Behemoth for the PSVR 2. You fought for this game. I wasn't going to play it, but you fought. Why this game are you so amped up about?
It's like the big game that's like saving VR that people were waiting for. It's got like combat, kind of like Legendary Tales, but it's no, it better. It's like the people that made Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which although you have frustrating things about the gameplay, the feel of the game is really good. Um, it's also like climbing up giants and stuff. It seems to really leverage the full spectacle of VR. We both love PSVR 2. I want you to play PSVR again, Adam. I want to play this game again specifically, and it just came out, so it's right time to play it. Also, we're not playing when everybody else played it at launch. There's a huge patch coming in a couple of days, so it's like perfect timing for us to start playing once all the bugs are worked out. But it's going to be an absolute banger. I have the feeling, and so I think it's just going to be. It's not often that you and I both play the same VR game and get to argue about it. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
I mean, the thing is, convince me I didn't like Half-Life Alex. Didn't like it. Thought it was, I didn't think it was bad. I think it was average. You think Behemoth is going to be better than that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it does better physics mechanics, and I think the combat's going to be more enjoyable. Imagine like a Skyrim that wasn't built as a flat game first.
I like Skyrim in VR. So
Yeah. What if the combat was more VR oriented though? Because Skyrim's really floaty in terms of combat. This has like a little bit of physics to it.
I mean, I didn't think it was too bad anyhow. I hate Legendary Tales, so if it's like that, that's a detriment. But I dislike Legendary Tales more of like it's just so boring and it's a bad game, not the gameplay itself. So, I mean, yeah, but I mean, we're doing it. So, Behemoth on PSVR 2, if people want to play along, I mean, we still doing 20% of the game? VR games can be short, right? So it doesn't make sense to play it for 40 minutes, right? Just play the whole game at that point.
Yeah, half the game, something like that. Let's just put a cap of like let's say 5 hours, 6 hours, something like that.
Let's look up Behemoth.
How long to beat Behemoth?
Yes. How big?
How long is my Behemoth? How long to beat Behemoth? I
Uh,
can't believe this website like exists and functions. There's no responses. One person
First
playing.
playthrough took about 10 hours.
Okay, let's do 4 hours.
Well, we're supposed to say we were doing 20%, but okay.
Okay, do 2 hours, Adam. I don't care. I'm gonna play it a bunch.
Yeah, sure. Until I come and wreck it. Listen, folks, thank you for listening to Gaming is in Session. Behemoth is playing next podcast, so play along with us. Thanks for listening to our commentary on Sea of Stars. Let us know if we are wrong. Let us know that you've subscribed. Let us know that you've reviewed us, that you've subbed on YouTube, that you're on all of the podcast platforms, whatever. Tell your auntie, your cousins, do all of it. Your mother and your brother, your sister and your mister. Thank you again for listening to Gaming is in Session. That is our thoughts on Sea of Stars. And if you don't like it,
You can tell it to the judges.
I'm a chugger.